Okay, so we're back. Mike had suggested that the first YouTube of 25 minutes is a good introduction for this new series, Visidati, Visidemora, but I should keep it down to 10 minutes because 10, 12 minutes. It's going to give me a 10-minute signal. The idea is to impart certain experiences, but at the same time inspire you, the listener or the player, to believe in yourself and to not to give up when you have to restart something. I'll give a very good example. Rafael Mendes, he was one of my great idols when I was a kid. Actually, more my parents, but that's who I heard when I was a kid. And I met him once when I was a child. I was only 11 or 12. Very briefly, I heard him in a concert in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, with the Saskatoon Boys Band. But anyway, he played in a mariachi band with his father, and when he was a kid, and he ended up going up to Detroit and tried to make his way with orchestras and bands there, and it didn't work out so well, so he worked for the General Motors Company, and in any event, he was playing in some theater, I think it was in Detroit, and somebody walked into the door when he was warming up and hit him the door into his face as he was playing the trumpet, and it damaged his lip. And he had a lot of problems for quite a while, but he had to rethink his whole playing because of it. And they had to actually lance. He had to play anyway, so he damaged his lip even more. And he had an infection in his lip that had to be lanced. That means burnt out. And actually had a hole in his lip. That was one of the reasons he grew a mustache. I have no holes in my lips. And the reason I shave my mustache here is because my mouthpiece sits very high up, almost up to my nose. I like a lot of top lip in the mouthpiece. It gives me more muscle security and strength. But this is a choice that one makes. One has to use a lot more air, of the equilibrium, pressure from inside and pressure from outside. So to make a long story short, Mr. Rafael Mendes had to recover from this problem, and he had to relearn and reinvent himself. Well, same thing happened to Adolf Hirseth. He was the solo trumpeter in the Chicago Symphony and had a car accident in 1951, and his top teeth were knocked out, and he had to. Fortunately, his brother-in-law was a dentist and had taken impression of his teeth beforehand, and he was able to have his teeth rebuilt exactly the way they were before, but he still had a lot of scar tissue and moved from a smaller mouthpiece. I think he was playing about a 5C Bach at the time. He moved to a Bach 1 or 1C and took in a lot of that scar tissue into his lip and relearned how to play the trumpet with a false support behind teeth. I personally, when I was a very small boy, when I first started playing the cornet, I'll just get a picture of, it's my birthday, so I had these placemats made for my guests tonight. You can see here, this little picture here. That I have very large lips for a little boy that's actually 11 years old in this picture. And the teeth, large teeth, the front teeth. Now, the secondary teeth started to grow in when the molars came in more and more. They pushed the teeth more forward. So the secondary teeth that are looking here quite normal are starting to be pushed over the front teeth through the growing of the back teeth, especially when you take a good look into that, the teeth position. So what happened was, thank you, Mike. So what happened was eventually the secondary teeth, the number 2 teeth on both sides of the main teeth, started to grow over. And when I played the trumpet, it would cut into my lip. So I was moving the mouthpiece more and more way away from these pressure points until the mouthpiece was almost in a position where I was placing it only 1/3 top lip and 2/3 bottom lip to get away from these pressure points. And I had already won competitions and had positions in orchestras. I was already playing solo trumpet in the Bamberg Symphony Orchestra and won the German radio and television competition with this kind of I could call it problem, embouchure problem. And I decided when I moved to this position to teach in Würzburg to reinvent my embouchure. And I went to a dentist, and he was actually a trumpet player, a very nice guy from Pressat in the Oberpfalz here in Würzburg, in Germany, Franconia, Bavaria. And his wife was a dental surgeon, so he was a dentist and she was an orthodontist, actually. So I created or developed a concept with him where I could have the teeth filed between the teeth all the way up to the gum, and then use an apparatus to pull the teeth into the position that they needed to be. Park them in more or less one behind the other. I used to use the adage, how do you get 10 Cadillacs in 9 parking spaces? Wow. All Cadillacs, at least the old ones, they used to have bumpers. And if you take the bumpers off those cars, of all of those cars, you have at least the length of one Cadillac. And so take the bumpers off, you can park the cars right behind each other perfectly. Instead of like this, or like this, like this. And so the teeth become very much more concentric, and the pressure point from the mouthpiece becomes much more conciliatory, much more, less damaging to the muscle of the lip. And at the same time, I move the mouthpiece higher up, a lot higher up. So I'll just play a few notes and you can look very closely, please, Mike. The mouthpiece sits very high up, and there's almost 90% top lip in the mouthpiece. Which allows me to use a lot more muscle when I play the trumpet. But at the same time, the area that I have to apply the pressure to from the mouthpiece is much higher displacement. So I can use more pressure and use more muscle. And it was a great advantage for me as I progressed as a musician, because it was necessary for me to play sometimes 3 concerts in one day, from Baroque music to piccolo trumpet solos and studio music in the same day. And because I used the same area of mouthpiece, don't use different diameter sizes, the same diameter. The back bores and the throats of the mouthpieces are different, but the same diameter of the cup of the mouthpiece, the cup diameter of the mouthpiece, from the inside to the bite of the mouthpiece inside, it always stays the same in all of my mouthpieces, except for trombone or whatever. But so basically I could play all day without my lips getting so tired that I couldn't control them. Lips get tired, muscles get tired, and they need time to recuperate. And it's necessary to understand that. But if you maintain an equilibrium of pressure from inside and pressure from outside, you will be able to develop the muscles and recover the muscles very quickly. Now, when you haven't played for a while, have had an accident like Mr. Rafael Mendez or Mr. Adolf Hirseth, it takes a while for the muscle to recover. But what's important is that that you do it in a way that helps the muscle recover without forcing it. And so playing in the low register is a very, very important part of redevelopment of an embouchure. And in the next YouTube, I'm going to talk about how to redevelop an embouchure for you players that have damaged lips or haven't played maybe for 20 years and want to play the trumpet again. You did some other job and always loved playing the trumpet in school and whatever. So I'll be back with how to practice in the low register and how to redevelop an embouchure. Visi date, visi demora.